It's time for the drivers to pack up and leave Silverstone in England, but this time not travelling too far, just across the continent to Germany for the next round of a GT3 Championship, which will take place at the Nurburgring. But before we go on to the next round, let's have a quick recap of the race at Silverstone. Manuel Duque qualified in pole with Nils Nins in second and Balochan in third, but the most minor of touches between Nins and Balochan at the start of the race spanned Balochan right out when he was collected also by a back marker which left him right at the back of the field. Meanwhile, at the front of the race, on the opening lap, Hugo Rodriguez, who was looking good for a good position in this race, got clipped by Hubert Eigner from behind, span out and ended up rejoining in around 13th place. At around the 30-minute mark, the heavens opened and the rain started to come down, and the drivers encountered many issues with a heavily rubbered in track with water on top, proving to be very slippy indeed, and lots of mistakes were to follow as the race continued. As the race entered the pit stop phase at around the 45-minute mark, nothing seemed too awry with Hugo Rodriguez's pit stop as he pitted from 4th place, having climbed right back up the field and was behind Manuel Duque, who led the race for quite some time early on. However, things did not go according to plan. Hugo picked up a 30-second stop-go penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Coming out from the pits, it wasn't long before Hugo was overtaking Manuel Duque to move up the field. However, he only had 3 laps in which to serve his penalty or he would face disqualification. Hugo had proven that he could be a front runner in this race, but that 30-second stop-go penalty was going to move him right down the field. But Hugo paid the ultimate price for not understanding the rules on serving a penalty. He did not serve the penalty within the mandatory 3 laps and was disqualified immediately. Meanwhile, further down the field, Nils Nins, who had been running in 3rd place for quite some time, really started to struggle after the pit stops in the damp conditions, had several offs and several spins, and eventually there was a huge coming together of several cars in the chase, leaving the leaders to move a clear away whilst the rest of the field scrabbled amongst each other to pick up the minor places. Eventually though, it was Hubert Eigner who led the field home for another victory in Season 5 of the GT3 Championship. For Tier 7, it's looking like it's Hugo's championship with just 3 rounds left to go. So moving into the next round, let's have a look at the championship standings following the results from round 6 at Silverstone. In the Drivers' Championship, Hubert Eigner confirmed his lead and now has 462 points over Manuel Duque of 420 Racing, who lies in second with 420 points. Netaria Kutjar moved up into 3rd following the last round. Sindrik Ragnarsson of TWG Motorsports moved up into 4th. Thomas Sajek of SBR Team remained in 5th, while Conal McCarthy, who had a difficult time in the rain in his Lamborghini, slipped down into 6th place. Steph Farrell of Shadow Lotus AMR moved up 3 places into 7th. Urti re-entered the top 10 into 8th. Lev Balochan of 420 Racing fell back 1 place to 9th, and Damiayo made it the 2nd TWG Motorsports Mercedes inside the top 10 with his 10th place on the table. Looking at the Teams Championship, 420 Racing are now firmly in front with 669 points, with TWG Motorsports over 100 points behind on 547. SVR Team moved up 1 place following Silverstone, and they're now in 3rd, while Shadow Lotus AMR fell back 1 place to 4th. Breakdancers remained in 5th, Beeswax Racing in 6th, and rounding out the 7th team in the championship, Lussus are in 7th place. Next up will be qualifying, followed by the race. This round will be a night race, and the weather report is unpredictable, with the possibility of rain making it twice as difficult for the drivers in this week's round. Let's see how qualifying goes before we move on to the race. Conditions for qualifying were dry and clear, but the hour of 2 AM in the morning meant the track was quite cool, which will have affected the performance of the tyres. Qualifying in first place and taking pole position was Hubert Eigner with a time of 1:54.828, the only driver to get under the 1:55 barrier. Nils Nins qualified on the front row yet again, second place for Beeswax Racing with a time of 1:55.167, just 0.339 behind the time of Hubert Eigner. On the second row for Shadow Lotus AMR, it's Steph Farrell alongside Erti. Row 3 was Hugo Rodriguez of Breakdancers alongside Lev Balokon of 420 Racing. Row 4 was John Becker, who's joined by Pedro Vieira of Lusus. Row 5 was Manuel Duque of 420 Racing, joined by Sindri Ragnarsson of TWG Motorsports. Row 6, it's the second TWG Motorsports of Dami Ayo alongside Kieran Wilson. On row 7, it's Conal McCarthy alongside Voodoo, who's changed to the Bentley this week following his exploits in the Lamborghini at Silverstone on the last round. On row 8 is Kirill Pojarski of Shadow Lotus AMR alongside Thomas Sajak of SVR Team. On row 9 is Arturos Ivanov alongside the second SVR Team entry of Daniel Yellon. Row 10 it's Lord Nem alongside the Lusus of Felipe Silva. Row 11 is Eduardo Tripiana alongside Nectaria Kutia. Row 12 it's Simon Priest alongside Steve Bezic of Beeswax Racing. And that was the starting order following qualifying, and here we join the start of the race. The pack going across the start-finish line as the lights turn green. Coming down into the first corner, it's a difficult, tight right-hander, braking downhill. Always difficult, and somebody loses it in the middle of the pack, but recovers quickly. And it looks like most of the field get round in more or less one piece, following that single slide for somebody. It looks like a couple of others lose it into turn 2. Somebody in the gravel trap and somebody else just spinning round. But the rest of the field come round to the end of the first sector. And it looks like most of the field is getting away reasonably cleanly. A couple of cars there out the back following spins on T1. So moving in for a closer look at the start, it's Hubert Eigner leading the pack out with Nils Nins just to the right of the shot there. You can see an instant move there by Hugo Rodriguez. As soon as the lights dropped, he was moving up the outside of the Steph Farrell's Aston Martin. The Nissan tucking in there behind Eigner, but unable to take second place. Nins holds on to second. You can see from behind Eigner's car now, Nins tucked in. Rodriguez has got into third place, crossing down Farrell to fourth. Everybody be looking to try and get some clean first laps in, avoid trouble. And we move back down the pack to the start again, and we follow Steve Bezic of Beeswax Racing, starting at the back of the pack following quite a poor qualifying. And coming down into T1, you see how much the rear of the pack has to slow down with the concertina effect. We're already Beeswax Racing car moving past a couple. A little bit of bouncing together there with QTR. It was QTR who went off at the start, and the McLaren 720S slipping through the field, avoiding the trouble. Already made up a number of places. Because that looks like Yellon behind. That would imply that Steve Bezic's gone from 24th to around 18th place in the first two corners. We'll find out at the end of the next sector when the timing computer catches up. Coming down to the hairpin bend. The Yelon trying to have a look up the inside there in his Ferrari, but the door was closed. Coming up through the Schumacher S's. And the computer settles down, and it looks like the McLaren of Beeswax has got through to 19th in the first couple of corners from 24th. So making up 5 places in the first couple of corners. And you get an idea of just how dark it's going to be for the drivers. No time acceleration this week, so it'll be a straight race from 3 AM to 4 AM in game time. You see Lord Nem trying to get round Yelon there in the Ferrari. Looked on the right and then looked on the left, but there's no way through. One of the marker boards has already gone missing from T1. And the McLaren gets through while keeping both Lord Nem and Yelon behind. And another one's off there to the side. So at the moment, Beeswax Racing car showing up to 17th place. Right behind the 2 Aston Martins. And already the McLaren closing in there on the back of these 2 Aston Martins of Lusus alongside. Coming into the next corner, but the Aston is brave and goes on the brakes a little bit later. So from the back all the way through to 17th. I think we're only just into the second lap. Now it's Preece in the Lexus that's tucked up behind Steve Bezic in the Beeswax car, but he's got off. The McLaren's got off, caught too much of the curb, and it's straight through the gravel trap, and all that hard work and success on the first 2 laps undone, and slips from 16th. How far back? Back into 19th place, that shows. Up front with Hugo Rodriguez. Still tucked in behind Nils Nins, having moved up past. Oh, and he's caught the curb, and that's took him right off. He's right off onto the grass. He's doing a quick recovery. Well, that means Erty is bound to get through there. Such an opportunity. It's coming around the hairpin bend at the bottom of the course and coming up towards the Schumacher S's. Erty moves in front of Rodriguez. Joining Manuel Duque now in 9th place. Not qualifying as well as he normally does. Manuel Duque in 2nd place in the Drivers' Championship, whilst his main rival... Oh, he's gone right off there. Right off the track for Duque. Hard into the wall. Did just like the McLaren of Steve Bezic. Caught too much curb. And as the car got unsettled and the tyres got grip, it suddenly speared the car right off the track. Right through the gravel trap and off the grass. And significant damage. And we cut back to Duque now. And that looks like he's dropping down the field. That's the Porsche of Wilson, and Wilson makes a big mistake, but still manages to stay in front of the Bentley of Manuel Duque. And Duque down in 18th place at the moment, it's showing. Pulling into the pits. Significant damage. You can see the bonnet loose there on the Bentley. So that trip into the wall really damaging the Bentley of Manuel Duque. This early in the race, this is really going to set back Duque's efforts to take the fight to Aigner. How's he going to make a recovery? Because he's already at the back of the field and he's going to take some time to do the repairs. And this early in the race as well means that by the time we're reaching the end of the race, unless he wants to pit twice, his tyres are going to be pretty badly shot. We cut back to join Erty, still in third place, having taken that from Hugo Rodriguez. Well, we're into turn 1. It looks like Rodriguez has got better position on the inside. And he's taking that position. So Hugo Rodriguez through into third. And Urti pushed down back into fourth. 4 laps in. So he managed to hold on to that lead for just a couple of laps before Rodriguez took it back. We join Nins, who's in second place. Oh, he's lost the rear end. It's sliding it into the grass. And I think this is just in the first sector between turns 2 and 3. And that's Becker gone through. Becker was in 5th place and Belocon's right behind him. So that'll push Nins down into 5th place, moving everybody else ahead of him up 1 place. Cutting him back to the end of the next lap. And they're all across the road there. Belocon looking to get past Nins. But it looks like they did a double switchback. But has Belocon got the better inside line? It looks like he does. Nins trying to hang it around the outside as they go around the complicated first sector of this track. So Nins has got the inside for the next corner. But Belocon's just too far ahead. So Nins slips in behind. So Belocon, after a lot of effort there, takes 5th place away from Nins. And they've been around the hairpin. They've just been through the Schumacher S's. And Belocon loses the rear of the car, just like Duque did. And he's through. And this is Voodoo, also in a Bentley, fighting with Steph Farrell, coming up towards the chicane. Oh, and they touch badly. And they're both off. Voodoo right into the grass. I'm not really sure what went on there. 2 into 1 didn't seem to fit. Looks like Voodoo left a lot of space on the inside. Oh no! Steph Farrell cuts right across the front of the Bentley then as it's trying to rejoin the track, and there's dozens of cars going through. I don't know how far back down the field they'll be dropping, but they're losing lots of places with that coming together, going through the chicane. Voodoo tries to pick up the pace and get going again. And we cut back to Silva, Pajashki and Wilson. Wilson just coming into shot then behind the 2 Aston Martins. But by the time they get to the end of the first sector of the lap, Wilson's got through on Silva. Silva dropping all the way back behind Pajashki and Wilson. Wilson now in the middle, Silva behind, Pajashki just in front. So a Shadow Lotus Aston Martin managing to keep away from the Porsche of Wilson. So start the pit stop phase for the drivers in the race. 17 laps in, Hubert Agner pits in from the lead, trying to carry as much speed as possible up to the pit lane limiter line and down to 50 kilometers an hour. Be careful not to speed, something that Hugo Rodriguez fell foul of in last week's round at Silverstone. So Urti then goes through to take the lead of the race, whilst Agner completes his pit stop. Now we join Nils Nins. Nins also going into the pits to complete his pit stop from third. Just see Agner there completing his pit stop just ahead. And then we join on lap 19. It's Urti's turn to come in. Agner and Nins will now be back out on track. Oh, but Urti's missed his pit box there. Had to reverse a little. And we catch Urti now leaving the pits. And he's done the same as Rodriguez last week. It's a 30-second stop-go penalty for Urti for speeding in the pit lane. And that's a bit of a disaster. Urti was fighting with Hugo Rodriguez for 3rd and 4th place for quite some time. But now, hopefully, he will have remembered the penalty that Rodriguez served last week when he failed to serve the stop-go within 3 laps and was disqualified from the race instantly. So Urti, no doubt, will be into the pits as soon as possible. Rodriguez was the driver here who fell foul of that rule last week and got disqualified. Into 20th lap now. And Conal McCarthy with Voodoo climbing all over the back of him. And Conal looks to a little bit of traction loss there. And the Bentley of Voodoo's up the inside. And I think that might well be a pass. They're still neck and neck into the next corner, but Voodoo sweeps around the outside. Voodoo into 8th. McCarthy pushed down into 9th. And looking back, A Lamborghini tucked in, and now Becker is having a sniff, and straight past the Lamborghini there. Becker straight through in the Ferrari, so McCarthy must maybe having some sort of problem. And McCarthy tries to fight back, but Becker's through and pulling away. And the Lamborghini on McCarthy slips back to 9th. Tries to maintain contact with the Ferrari. But it does not look like he's going to have the speed to come back at him, at least not at this moment in the race. But did Becker make a mistake there? Did Becker make a mistake and let McCarthy through? He's certainly having a look. And he has won the back. Well done, McCarthy. Takes the place back from Becker. But they're going down the start-finish straight into that difficult first corner. And this battle between them going on for quite a number of laps. Well, Becker goes very wide there into the gravel. And that'll allow Przarski behind, who still managed to stay clear of Wilson, to come through. So Przarski takes the place off Becker. So Becker at one point getting ahead of McCarthy, fell back even further. But now it's McCarthy's turn to have a problem. He's spun right round, and they've all just come around the corner and caught him. That's Przarski and Becker who were caught, and that was Wilson in the background who took the opportunity to slip right through the lot of them. And Steph Farrell has just arrived on the scene, just in time to try and get past a Lamborghini of McCarthy. So McCarthy, I think, has slipped all the way back down into 12th following that spin. Lap 27 with Dami Ayo, who's being challenged by Thomas Sajak. And the SVR team Ferrari looks to be going round the TWG Mercedes. Dami Ayo drops back one place. The Ferrari taking a wide line there on the hairpin to get through. But Sajak through, Ayo down into 6th place. So TWG Motorsports going backwards at the moment. And now it's Voodoo coming up behind Dami Ayo. Is Dami got some sort of problem? You can see Voodoo right up behind the rear wing of the Mercedes. And he pulls up on the start-finish straight. And Voodoo's definitely got the better line for T1. Going to take that place away from Dami Ayo, so Dami slips back another position. Down into 7th place. Moving forward to the next lap, now Wilson's caught up with Dami Ayo. The Mercedes definitely seems to be carrying some sort of issue. Oh, and that was a big hit there on the Mercedes for TWG Motorsport. You can see the damage to the bonnet. I don't know if that was before that contact with Wilson or afterwards, but definitely seemed to go into the side of the Mercedes and push it well wide. But Wilson went through and didn't wait. And the next driver catching up with Ayo is John Becker. Dami Ayo catching a little bit of gravel there. TWG Motorsports possibly not handling very well with that amount of damage. And the Ferrari of Becker just sweeps around the outside. I'm not sure if there's much that Dami Ayo can do now. How many more places is he going to lose before the end of a lap? We're into lap 30. So not too far away from the end of the race. And the next driver queuing up is Przarski of Shadow Lotus AMR. TWG Motorsports currently in 2nd place on the team's championship. So Shadow Lotus and SVR team both wanting to close the gap on TWG. So they'll be glad to see Dami Ayo coming back towards them. Dami trying to defend into the chicane. But Przarski must be carrying more speed. The damage to that Mercedes looks extensive. Coming down the start-finish straight, this is where most of the passes have been made on Dami. Possibly not confident on the brakes with the amount of damage on his car. And it's Przarski and his teammate Farrell right behind him. Oh, I don't think that was a little accidental touch then. So Przarski through, and Steph Farrell, the other Shadow Lotus AMR, lining Dami Ayo up straight away. And he's going to go around the outside of turn 3. He's trying to pull it off into the difficult right-hander of turn 4. Dami trying to cover the inside line to the next corner, but that's a bad line. You won't get much speed through there. Side by side, but there was nothing going to stop Steph Farrell there coming through. Dami Ayo tries to hang it around the outside, but that's not the fast way around that corner. And Steph Farrell moves away. Dami Ayo drops from 9th down to 11th. Next one behind him will be Conor McCarthy. But we cut back. I think they're out of time. I don't think Conor is going to get past Dami Ayo. Hubert Eigner, another victory to add to his tally in Season 5 of the GT3 League. And his lead coming away from this round, surely unassailable now. He's only 2 more rounds to go. He's taken maximum points from this round. And Paul Manuel Duque, who had major issues at the start of this race, straight off the track and into the wall, pitting for repairs, is currently P18th. We'll find out if we go and look at the results, what the final results were and where Manuel Duque actually ended up and how the Drivers' Championship has panned out. So that completes round 7 of the Nurburgring, and let's have a look at the official race results coming out of this round. In first place, it was Hubert Eigner taking maximum points in his Aston Martin. Second place, Hugo Rodriguez from Breakdancers, and in third place, Lev Bolokon of 420 Racing. Nils Nins came home in 4th place, one of his best results for this season for Beeswax Racing. First SBR team car home was Thomas Sajak in 5th place. Voodoo was 6th, Kieran Wilson was 7th, John Becker 8th, Kirill Pojarski of Shadow Lotus AMR was 9th, and Steph Farrell, also of Shadow Lotus, was in 10th. So a decent haul of points this week for Shadow Lotus AMR. The battle between them and SBR team is pretty close in the Teams Championship. TWG Motorsports, Dami Ayo finished in 11th. He did stay ahead of Conor McCarthy to the end of the race, but was clearly carrying significant damage there in the final few laps. Sindri Ragnarsson was the second TWG Motorsports Mercedes. He came in 13th. So TWG Motorsports losing points this week against both Shadow Lotus AMR and at least one of the SVR team's Ferraris. The first Lusus to come home was Felipe Silva in 14th place, and the second SVR team Ferrari of Daniel Yellon was in 15th place. Artur Ivanov finished in 16th, Eduardo Trapiana finished 17th. Manuel Duque of 420 Racing definitely had a hard time after that early off and damage to his car, finished down in 18th. Lord Nem struggled this week, down in 19th position. Simon Fries is in 20th. Steve Bezic of Beeswax Racing seemed to have a lot of difficulty on this track, finished down in 21st. Netario Kutiar, who was very high up in the Drivers' Championship, finished down in 22nd, so he's going to struggle to hold on to his place in the top 10. Pedro Vieira of Lusus was in 23rd, and Urti rounds out the field. That stop-go penalty really destroying his race and putting him down in last place. Moving on to the Drivers' Championship. Hubert Eigner, with victory in this round, moves even further clear of the rest of the field. His closest rival being Manuel Duque of 420 Racing, who's in 2nd place, but is now 118 points behind following a difficult race, finishing well down the field following that spin-off and his trip into the wall, resulting in repairs in the pits. Moving up into 3rd place, it's Thomas Sajak, who's only 56 points behind Manuel Duque. The SVR team driver having a good result this evening, finishing in 5th. In 4th place, it's Sindri Ragnarsson of TWG Motorsports. Remaining in 4th place, it's Sindri Ragnarsson of TWG Motorsports. In 5th, moving up 1 place, it's Conor McCarthy. In 6th place, it's Nectaria Kutiar, who had a difficult race, finishing well down the field and slips back 3 places. In 7th place, it's Lev Bolokon of 420 Racing, who moves up 2 places. Both the Shadow Lotus AMR entries drop back on the table. Steph Farrell is in 8th, and Kirill Pojarski is in 9th. Now rounding out the top 10 of a Drivers' Championship, it's Erty, who had that stop-go penalty which pretty much destroyed his race this week, so he falls back 2 places. Looking at the Teams' Championship, 420 Racing hold on to first place. They're now 151 points clear of TWG Motorsports, who are in second. In third place, it's SVR Team, who are just 11 points clear of Shadow Lotus AMR, so it will definitely be down to the wire between those 2 teams. And TWG Motorsports is not out of reach of either of those teams, depending on how results go. Fifth place is Breakdancers. In 6th, it's Beeswax Racing, and rounding out the Team's Championship is Lotus in 7th. That concludes the action of round 7 of the GT3 Championship at the Nurburgring. Next round, round 8, will take place at Paul Ricard on Tuesday the 10th of November, with qualifying commencing at 7:30, followed immediately by the main race. Many of the drivers will be familiar with the Paul Ricard circuit, having taken part in the recent 9-hour endurance race hosted by Apex Online Racing at that circuit. There's only 2 rounds remaining on the Drivers' Championship for Season 5, so please join us next time out for the race at Paul Ricard. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Please leave a comment and like if you did. Please subscribe if you want to catch future races in the GT3 Championship or in other categories. We are currently looking to organise a social fun race in Assetto Corsa, and it's looking like that's going to be around the Nordschleife, the full Nurburgring, and it'll be a mix of both GT3 and LMP class cars, and that will be held after this season is finished. And it's also been announced this week for the next endurance round, which will take place at Brands Hatch. It will be a 6-hour endurance race in the GT4 class. Beeswax Racing have already entered 2 cars, and the drivers' teams are assembled. We just need to finalise our choices and get practicing. We'll put more information up on the dates and times when they will take place at next week's show. But thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed, and we'll see you again soon.